Hello everyone, and welcome back to Legends of the Jedi. In this episode, we'll be covering issues 3 and 4 of the Sith War arc. But before that, recap time. In our last episode, we saw that Exar Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma had now fully turned to the dark side of the Force. The two Sith Lords began marshalling their forces against the Old Republic. For Ulic, these forces included the legions of Mandalore the Indomitable and the Krath. Exar Kun, on the other hand, focuses efforts on corrupting gullible Jedi apprentices and knights, a group which included Master Thon's old apprentice, Osweilam, and Exar's former sparring partner, Credo. Kun lured the group of Jedi to Yavin 4. After gaining their trust, he smashed a Sith holocron and unleashed the dark side spirits within. These spirits went on to possess the Jedi present, essentially creating an army of dark Force users for the Sith Lord to exploit. Meanwhile, eager for a decisive military victory against the Republic, Ulic Qel-Droma decided to strike Coruscant, the capital world itself. With his lover Alima and his mass general Mandalore, Ulic launched the assault. A group of Jedi Knights, including Ulic's brother Kay and Nomi Sunrider, were dispatched to stop the invasion. In the midst of the battle, Alima betrayed Ulic and ordered Mandalore to signal the retreat of their forces. Now, Ulic finds himself stranded on Coruscant without allies and unable to defeat the Jedi Knights. A prisoner, he is hauled off by the leader of the Republic Senate, who vows to bring Ulic to trial and execute him as a traitor. And so with that recap, let's hop onto our sail barge and fly directly into issue 3 of the Sith War, entitled The Trial of Ulic Qel-Droma. The third issue opens in on Master Voto Sios Boss on the planet of Dantooine. Those of you who played Knights of the Old Republic may remember that Dantooine was a Jedi stronghold in this era. Master Voto looks to the stars and contemplates recent events.
I could have foreseen this war. The storm has come, and I know what is at its heart. Not just a military battle for dominance of a few worlds. This is a war of light and darkness, and at its center is my own student Exar Kun. As a Jedi Master, I failed him, and now I must face the consequences.
Even though Master Voto is not at all human-looking, the artist, Dario Carrasco Jr., really manages to capture his profound sadness in these first few panels. He thinks about the death of his friend, Master Arca, and how Ulic has now been arrested for treason. But he knows better. He knows that Ulic is just a victim of the dark side.
I must make things right, and I have to do something. I must go to the trial of Ulic Qel-Droma. This may be our last chance.
In the next scene, we flash to Sinagar in the Empress Tita system. We're told that the Krath have regrouped and are now led by Alima, but not all the insurgent forces are willing to forget about Ulic so easily. We open in on Alima feeding a couple of poor soldiers to a large snake-like creature. The same fate awaits anyone else who questions my right to rule the new fleet. Not far away in the war room, Mandalore analyzes the recent abortive attacks on Coruscant.
Why did we fail? My warriors must know. Our honor demands it. What did we forget? How was Master Ulic so easily captured? Or did Alima call a retreat before the tide had turned? Has she betrayed us all? I must consider this further.
Mandalore leaves the war room and confronts Alima. He tells her that he has come to discuss plans to rescue Ulic Qel-Droma. In response, Alima tells him not to worry about Ulic. The Jedi will reprimand him, and he will forget all about them in time. She also tells him that with Ulic captured and Exar Kun busy dabbling with his converts on Yavin 4, the war effort is left up to them. They have much to plan now, and she's not about to lose their momentum. Alima tells him how they've risked too much to deny themselves victory. I want you to get your entire fleet ready, weapons primed, warriors armed.
Yes, lady. Is there anything else you require of me?
Just be sure our forces are prepared for another assault, on my order. Alima tells Mandalore that they will do a double feint and strike at Kemplex 9 after all. If you remember from our last episode, Kemplex 9 was the jump station they pretended to attack in order to divert Republic forces away from Coruscant. Alima believes it will now be virtually unguarded since the Republic no longer considers it to be a legitimate target. Mandalore immediately sets Alima's orders in motion, following them to the letter. He knows his warriors will carry out their orders, but he has another mission of his own. He swore an oath to serve Ulic Qel-Droma in our last episode. he resolves to find some way to free the Sith Lord. Speaking of Sith Lords, we now find ourselves in the Republic Senate Hall of Coruscant, where an inquisition is about to take place. Kay and Nomi rush in order to attend and speak on Ulic's behalf. Kay is afraid that they're going to tear his brother to shreds. Nomi points out to him that Ulic went on a rampage and had to be stopped, no matter their personal feelings. In the next panel, guards open the doors to a dark cell. Ulic is inside, dressed in a body-length red cape. Shackles on his hands connect to a collar around his neck. He looks up at the guards.
If you expect me to repent, you'll be sorely disappointed. Come on, Keldroma, it's your time.
Ulic is led by the guards to a raised platform in the middle of the Senate Hall. He looks up at the Republic senators, and in a booming voice he says, "Stopping us now will be like standing at the bottom of a mountain trying to stop an avalanche." Before the senators can react to this brazen display of defiance, the scene changes to Yavin 4. While Ulic may be the most visible part of the plot, he is not the only threat. After retrieving their own ships, Exar Kun's Dark Jedi converts return to the isolated jungle moon. Amidst this small fleet of ships, Kun addresses his acolytes. "The time has come for our first and most important strike. The old Jedi Masters are the crumbling foundation of this fossilized order. Before we can establish our Golden Age, we must remove the foundations, level the field, and make room for the new. Go and strike down your Jedi Masters. They will suspect nothing until it is too late. We will be like a knife in the night, fast, silent, and deadly." The Dark Jedi stare back at Kun, their eyes lifeless and white. Credo asks Kun whether he still wants him to kill Master Vodo. Kun instructs him to go with Osweiler and help take down Master Thrawn instead. He tells Credo to leave Master Vodo to himself. As the ships depart on their insidious mission, another craft arrives unexpectedly. Mandalore the Indomitable exits from his own ship.
"Exar Kun, I must speak with you. My master Ulic Qel-Droma has been captured. The Republic will place him on trial."
"And I suppose you want my help. Very well, let's go free poor Ulic. Perhaps he'll take my advice from now on when I warn him against rash actions, and we can show the Republic that they have no hope against us." Flashing back to the Republic Senate chamber, we come across the Speaker of the House addressing Ulic and the gathered crowd.
"Ulic Qel-Droma, your list of crimes is long. The destruction of shipyards, the looting of supply bases, the enslavement of mercenaries, and even worse, you have betrayed your training as a Jedi Knight. Your vow to protect the Republic. How do you plead?"
Ulic looks up.
"I don't plead with fools. You are puppets of tradition pretending to be important. The coming Golden Age has no place for you. Your Republic is an empty, self-indulgent diversion signifying nothing. The glory of the Sith will turn all of your supposed accomplishments to dust." At this point, to Ulic's frustration, his brother Kay interjects and addresses the senators from below. He begs them not to listen to Ulic's words. He tells the senators that his brother was greatly disturbed by the death of Master Arca and was somehow brainwashed by the craft. Kay points out all of the good that Ulic has done for the Republic before he turned dark. Nomi watches this impassioned plea with tears in her eyes. Just as Ulic begins to tell his brother to get lost, the doors to the Senate Hall crash open. Exar Kun himself steps into the giant audience chamber, flanked by Mandalore and several Massassi guards. "Excuse me, might I join the discussion? I've got something I'm sure you'll find interesting." While working his Sith magic, Kun begins to admonish Ulic for his lack of patience. The entire chamber is frozen, forced to watch and not react, as Exar Kun's Sith spell works its effects on them. Before Kun can come any closer to the raised platform, Kay, who is apparently immune to the Sith spell, ignites his lightsaber. Nomi and the Jedi Knight Silvar spring into action. Silvar attacks the Massassi guards with her sharp claws. With blood dripping from her hands, she looks to Kun and asks, "Where is my mate, Credo?"
Exar Kun remembers the scar Silvar gave him several episodes back, but now the Cathar woman is of no consequence to him. He tells Silvar that he sent Credo on a mission. He then turns his back on the Jedi Knights and tells Ulic to keep them occupied as he begins to walk up the steps to the top of the raised platform. The Speaker of the House begins to bluster and call for the guards. He swings his staff at Kun, who catches it and throws it aside. "I just wanted to say that you and the whole Republic Senate are irrelevant. The Jedi Knights have coddled you for centuries. You are outdated and ineffective, puppets to tradition. Go on, show us. As Kun uses his Sith amulet to work further magic, the speaker comes fully under his sway. Kun begins to manipulate the speaker like a puppet, and forces him to address the crowd, telling them how the Sith Empire will rise again, and that their fires will wash over the crumbling Republic worlds. In this destructive wake, the glorious days of a lost Golden Age will be reestablished. Visions of towering Sith monuments, statues, and edifices dance across the page as this speech is delivered to the Senate. After siphoning his life essence, Kun drops the dead speaker to the floor. He turns back to the crowd. We did all this to show you how useless and ineffective the Republic is. We don't want your cooperation. The Republic is not even part of the plan. Kun leaves the stage and walks back down to the floor below. At this point, Kay begs his brother to stop this, but Ulic is having none of it. He basically tells Kay that he can either join or get out of the way. He will have to kill Ulic if he wants to stop him. Now at this point, you're probably wondering where all the Jedi Masters are. Well, I'm sure at least a few of them are probably preoccupied right now by murderous possessed Jedi students coming after them. That said, there is one particular Master unaccounted for, and it's at this moment that he chooses to make his entrance. Master Vodo Siosk Bas, former teacher of Exar Kun, enters the audience hall and tells them that he's here to put a stop to this. The scene kind of has the same energy to it as that scene in Episode 3 when Yoda walks into Palpatine's chambers and he's all like,
"Not if anything to say about it I have."
Anyways, Master Vodo knows that it's not Ulic who must be stopped, it's his former student Exar Kun. Vodo tells Nomi and Silvar to stand down. He turns to Exar.
My former student, I must speak with you.
Don't tell me you've come to join our Sith cause, Master Vodo.
You've been busy, Exar Kun. Busy building, planning, and destroying.
You should see all I have accomplished. It's magnificent. Better than anything in the holocron. At this point, oddly enough, Kun reaches out to touch Master Vodo's shoulder. He appeals to his former master to join his Sith Brotherhood. Vodo declines the offer. Kun reaches for his lightsaber. A pity. You fought me once, Master Vodo, and bested me. Why don't we try it again? A rematch. Only this time we up the stakes. If you beat me, I will return with you and undergo any training you wish to give. But if I win, you agree to join the Sith Brotherhood and work at my side. Vodo rejects this bet almost instantly.
You know I could never bow to the evil Sith ways.
Oh, whatever. We can work out the details later. Activating his blue blade, Exar Kun swings it downwards in a vicious slash. Master Vodo uses his staff to block the lightsaber blade. He beseeches Kun to give up this bullying of the galaxy. It offends the Jedi way. Kun retorts that Vodo has nothing left to offer him. He's already heard the Jedi Master's teachings and found them wanting. At this point, the two of them are locked in a furious duel. Kun continues to boast of his accomplishments. He's built temples, unearthed an ancient ship, and studied forbidden teachings. Teachings he now uses to harness powers against his former master. With no clear victor, Kun steps back and tells Vodo it's time to make this more interesting. Suddenly, a second blade extends out of the other side of his lightsaber. That's right, you heard me. A double-bladed lightsaber, much like Darth Maul's featured about 4 years before The Phantom Menace in this comic. In fact, the significance of this scene cannot be understated because this is the first time in any Star Wars media that a double-bladed lightsaber has appeared. If you don't trust me, go look it up on Wikipedia. Wielding the double blade, Kun asks, Master Vodo, do you like the modifications I made to my lightsaber? The Sith Lord renews his attack on his former master with newfound fury. He spins his lightsaber around and causes his opponent to retreat. Barely able to hold him back, Vodo tells Kun that this isn't the end. They will fight again. Perhaps not for a long time, but he will defeat Kun in the end. The panel is split between their two faces, perspiration dripping off of each combatant. Kun scowls and tells Vodo that these are just words. Go on to your higher plane of existence, teacher. The galaxy is mine now. With a final vicious slash, Kun breaks through Vodo's staff and slashes downwards. In the next panel, it appears as though Vodo pulled an Obi-Wan and became one with the Force before the lightsaber could cut him in two. All that remains of the Jedi Master are smoking robes. Seeing her master slaughtered before her eyes, Silvar calls the Sith Lord a murderer and leaps to attack Exar Kun, but he uses the Force to repel her backwards. He tells Ulic, Mandalore, and the remaining Massassi that it's time for them to leave. They've made their point. The issue ends with Exar Kun walking out of the Senate chamber, declaring that the Sith Brotherhood now controls the galaxy, while Kay, Nomi, Silvar, and the entire Senate watch on in horror and dismay. Well, well, I'm getting some major Empire Strikes Back vibes from the ending of this issue. Definitely a bit of a downer. Unfortunately, things are about to get worse before they get better. They don't call this the Sith War for nothing. Before we move on to issue 4, the Jedi Journal's letters column at the end of issue 3 has an interesting question posed by Khalil West of Orange, New Jersey. Mr. West asks how the Jedi could have been so gullible to follow Exar Kun in issue 1 of the Sith War. It's a good question, and one I posed myself. Interestingly, the editor doesn't answer it, so we're left to our own rationalizations about the seductive power of the dark side, etc., etc. There's also quite a lot of praise for the art of Dario Carrasco Jr. I agree, it's great. We don't even need the dialogue half the time because it's plain to see on each character's face what emotions they might be feeling in any given moment. You should definitely check it out if you have the means. Okay, on to issue 4. The issue is entitled Jedi Holocaust. Remember what I said about things getting worse before getting better? Yeah. The cover of the issue features Nomi clutching Vima to her chest with one hand and fending off some kind of Sith creature with her lightsaber in the other hand. Master Thon's behind her, fending off yet another of these creatures. Go look it up on the Holonet. I'll wait while you do that. Right, issue 4. It opens on the jungle moon of Yavin. Mandalore explains to Ulic how he was betrayed by Alima. The former Jedi isn't very surprised. Alima has a long tradition of manipulating him. First, she manipulated him into killing her cousin, Satal Keto. Then, she tried to get rid of Ulic and claim power for herself. He pats his lightsaber at his side and tells Mandalore that he knows how to deal with traitors, no matter who they are. As if on cue, Alima shouts out to Ulic and runs toward him when she sees him. As she clings to his chest, she tells him that she's glad to be with him again. She asks whether he'll be leading their next attack against the Republic. Without even looking at her, Ulic says that he will let her have that honor. Despite her attentions, Ulic is far more troubled by his memories of Nomi Sunrider, and the kiss he shared with her before he left to join the Craft. Across the galaxy on the planet Ambria, Nomi, Vima, and Silvar greet Jedi Master Thon after disembarking from their ship. Despite her great Jedi powers, Nomi feels helpless. We're told that she has come to Master Thon's planet for quiet healing and further training. Master Thon greets them warmly. He tells them that a true Jedi never stops learning. On Ambria, he can offer them peace for contemplation. As if on cue, we are told that others have come to Master Thon's planet with a more sinister intent. We see Credo and Os Wylam standing outside their ship, surveying the area. Wylam's eyes are completely white now that he has been possessed by Sith evil. If you remember from several episodes back, we were told Ambria was a planet tainted by the dark side. It's part of the reason why Master Thon chose to live here, so he could constantly push himself and hopefully one day purify the planet. This is important to know because it builds into what Os Wylam tells Credo. He tells him that this is the right planet, and they have everything they need here to destroy their enemies. Wylam uses the Force to call out to the dark side creatures inhabiting a nearby lake. Although previously held at bay by Master Thon's powers, they now answer to a new power. Wylam guides them to Master Thon's settlement and tells them that their targets are below. All must die in order to make way for a new golden age of the Sith. Credo looks on and repeats that all must die, even Silvar, his former mate. Using his Sith powers to control the beasts, Wylam forces them to attack. Sensing this danger through the Force, the Jedi rally against the vicious darkside monsters. In an echo of the cover art, Nomi clutches Vima to her chest and ignites her lightsaber. Silvar ignites her own saber and begins to slash at the dark beasts, while Thon attacks with brute force. Nomi focuses inwards and uses her Jedi battle meditation to distract and defeat these darkside monsters. Thon pulls his bloody mouth from the neck of one of the creatures and tells his companions that this is an evil day indeed, for he has been driven to kill. I mean, it was out of self-defense, but it was a kill nonetheless. Silvar surprises Os Wylam and knocks him down from behind. When Thon realizes his former student was behind these attacks, he is completely dismayed. Pouncing on Wylam, he takes him out of commission. It's at this point that Silvar confronts her lover Credo. Knowing he can't take on all these Jedi by himself, he tries to surrender, but hell hath no fury like a Jedi scorned, because Silvar doesn't hold back. She calls him a traitor and a murderer. She tells him that Master Vodo is dead, and then uses her claws to slash his face, giving him a wound similar to the one she previously gave to Exar Kun. This is like her signature move. Credo flees back to his ship, clutching his bloody face. As he leaves Ambria, he quietly calls out Silvar's name in despair. Back on the planet, Silvar makes peace with the fact that Credo has fallen to the dark side. Nomi asks Master Thon why they were attacked. He explains to her that he believes he was targeted and hopes that the other Jedi Masters are safe. Elsewhere across the Galactic Republic, we find out that the Jedi Masters are not safe at all. Again, there's another parallel to Episode 3. In a sequence that kind of reminds me of the clone troopers taking out the Jedi during Order 66 thousands of years later, we see many Jedi Masters meet their end. The pogrom continues under the orders of Exar Kun. We see students killing masters with lightsabers, we see buildings set on fire, and ships being destroyed. We even see a fallen Jedi using Sith magic to subdue and strike down a Jedi Master. In one particular scene, a Jedi named Zona Luca can be seen in a lightsaber duel with her master, another Jedi named Dominus. If you remember, Zona Luca was introduced in our last episode. In the midst of battle, Dominus tells her that she was his dearest student, but this has no effect on her. As she strikes him down, she tells him it's nothing personal. With his dying breath, he says that he has sworn to fight for the light side, even against her. In the wake of these attacks, 3 Jedi we know quite well stumble upon a particular scene of carnage. These Jedi are Dace Diath, Shoaneb Kulu, and Kurl Tok. We see the body of Zona Luca lying on the ropes of Master Dominus. It looks like he was able to take her out before succumbing to his injuries and becoming one with the Force. Dace Diath surveys the scene, and he asks the other Jedi present why Zona Luca would attack her own master. The 3 Jedi eventually come to the conclusion that Ulic and Exar Kun are using dark side energies to sow the seeds of chaos across the galaxy. Back on Yavin 4, we see Credo kneeling before Exar Kun in one of his great temples.
I failed you, Exar. I failed. Osweiler was captured, and there was nothing I could do.
A minor setback, my friend Credo.
I beg you to give me another chance. Let me be a great commander like you, please, I beg.
Well, if it means that much to you, Credo, yes, we are about to embark on our next big military operation. And I suppose you could have a very big part in it. Alima has already been chosen to lead this strike. You will be her battle commander. At this point, Exar Kun and Credo are joined by Ulic, Alima, and Mandalore. Ulic tells them,
We'll be striking Kemplex 9. It's an important jump station. We can lure much of the Republic fleet there and destroy them with Sith magic.
Ulic then asks Exar Kun to show him this ancient weapon he promised. Kun brings Ulic and Alima to Nagasado's ancient ship. 1,000 years ago, one of my predecessors, the Dark Lord Nagasado, used this ship to flee Republic fighters. Here is the power to wrench fire from the stars. Let me show you how to use it, Alima. Alima looks on and says, Yes, I can sense the Sith powers vibrating through these walls. As Alima marvels at the ship's controls, Mandalore pulls Ulic aside.
Lord Ulic, I am your war commander. Have I disappointed you in some way? Why do you deny me the chance to lead this mission? Why do you give it to her? You know what she has done to you.
Yes, I know, Mandalore, that she is a vile traitor who pretends to love me. But by knowing Alima's treachery, I can allow her to serve our cause in one final way.
Exar Kun walks over to join the two of them, obviously a party to this conspiracy. If only Credo wasn't so eager. He is completely loyal, but he's weak and becoming a nuisance. Okay, so things are not looking so hot for Credo and Alima right now. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Sometime later, before the assault fleet is about to depart for Kemplex 9, Alima asks Ulic what is troubling him. He tells her nothing's the matter and he wishes her good luck. At the same time, Credo tells Exar Kun that he won't let him down. Kun responds that when the battle is finished, he intends to march into Ossus and take everything of value to the Jedi. Speaking of Ossus, the next scene brings us to a gathering in the Great Jedi Library where Jedi Knights have come to express their outrage. Those present include the 3 Jedi I spoke of earlier, including Master Thon, Nomi, and Silvar. We learn that no less than 8 Jedi Masters have been brutally assassinated by the fallen Jedi. Kay tells the others that he feels responsible, since Ulic had his hand in these murders. Master Thon advises that they need to put their personal feelings aside, as this is a war between light and darkness. At this point, the Twi'lek Jedi Tot Danita bursts into the room and tells the other Jedi present that there are reports of an attack on Kemplex 9 by an ancient Sith ship. Master Thawne warns the Jedi that this could be another feint. Dace Diath, Kurl Tok, and Shoaneb Kulu tell the others that they will take command of the fleet and lead a counterattack while the rest of the Jedi stay on Ossus to defend it. Flash forward to the Kemplex 9 space station, a bustling metropolis and the only inhabited station in a hot, unstable cluster of 10 stars known as the Kron Cluster. After Alima's attack, it is no longer inhabited. When the Jedi forces arrive, they realize they're too late. Scanners don't pick up any survivors. They do, however, pick up an ion trail and realize the ancient Sith ship is still close by. They set off in pursuit of it. Negasato's ship is close by, navigating through the dense heart of the Kron Cluster, hiding, lying in wait, perhaps even luring its enemies into its trap. As Alima stands before a cluster of crystals on the bridge of the ship, she begins to harness her dark side energies. She's eager to use Sato's weaponry to call on the power of the suns. You may remember all the way back in Episode 5 that Sato used this technology to escape from the Republic ships pursuing him at the time. Credo calls out to Alima and tells her that the Jedi ships are approaching their location. She tells him to leave them to her. Dace Diath senses that the ship is powering up for something, but the Jedi don't seem particularly frightened by a 1,000-year-old ship. As their own ships pass into the cluster, Alima uses the powers Exar Kun has shown her. Tapping into the stars themselves, she is able to claim their destructive force as her own. Although she has no eyes, Shoaneb Kulu is able to sense the terrible ripples in the Force, something she describes as a wrenching. She is stunned by the immense power being summoned. Before the Jedi can do anything, Alima uses the Sith power from Sato's ship to rip the core from the center of one of the 10 stars in the Kron Cluster. She tosses the flaming radioactive core directly into the midst of her Jedi pursuers. Our 3 Jedi and their fleet don't even stand a chance. Bathed by gamma rays, X-rays, and ionized fire, the ships are sterilized in an instant. All life aboard incinerated in a white-hot flash. The 3 Jedi ships and the remainder of their fleet are dead, burned-out husks. Even their distress signals have been silenced. Let's take a moment for our Jedi friends who were slain in battle. Alright. Alima stands triumphant as she turns to Credo.
The weak Jedi forces are obliterated.
Credo says,
Exar Kun will be proud of us. Wait. What's that? The star. This isn't supposed to happen.
Alima looks at her sensors.
But I've shut down the weapon's power source.
As Exar Kun predicted, the Jedi pursuers would be lured into this trap and neutralized. But now the second part of his plan, known only to him and Ulic, and I guess Mandalore, comes to pass. Alima's gambit of tearing free a stellar core has set up a chain reaction inside the star, causing it to collapse and implode. Before the ancient ship can make its retreat, the star goes supernova. In her last moments, Alima suddenly knows that her treachery has been exposed. She calls out Ulic's name as her body is incinerated from the blast. Even Credo, he has a bit of a death soliloquy himself. Before he's incinerated, he asks,
Exar Kun, why?
The magnitude of the blast sets off a chain reaction in the other stars of the Kron Cluster, causing a massive supernova, more devastating than anything this galaxy has ever seen. And to make matters worse, we're told that nearby Ossus, the renowned storehouse of Jedi knowledge and artifacts, lies directly in this growing path of destruction. If there was any doubt on whether Alima, Credo, or any of the 3 Jedi survived, my hope is that 10 stars going supernova has quelled those doubts in you. In the last panel of this issue, we see Ulic standing beside Exar Kun. The 2 exchange words on recent events.
It is done, Exar Kun. Do you feel the disturbance in the Force?
Yes, I do. They will have no choice now but to evacuate Ossus. When the Great Library is undefended, we will strip it clean of all their precious secrets. Before we cap off today's episode, let's talk about the Jedi Journal's letters column. It's interesting to note that a bunch of people in this column were clamoring for Nagasato's backstory. If you remember, even though the Golden Age and the Fall arcs took place in episodes 1 to 5 of this podcast, these stories were actually published after the Sith War. One Carlton P. Pimentel of New Bedford, Massachusetts, astutely asks why all the Jedi Masters featured to date are male. I agree, Carlton. The people want to know. But if you, dear listeners, would like some more great female Jedi role models, Nomi and Silvar are not your only recourse, because we have more of them coming up in Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. In fact, and please plug your ears for 5 seconds if you don't want to hear a spoiler, the main playable character in KOTOR 2 is canonically a woman. Okay, you may unplug your ears. Reflecting back on issue 4, the body count was high. Quite a few characters that we've been following as far back as episode 6 met their end today, and they will be dearly missed. I mean, come on, I'm still sad about Arba the Hutt who died 8 or 9 episodes ago. But like I said before, it's the Sith War, and unfortunately, war has casualties. Who will be next, I wonder? Who will be next? Next time, we'll be finishing off the Sith War with more explosive content as brother faces off against brother in a stunning conclusion to the battle between light and dark. Bring your box of tissues, and remember,
we would be honored if you would join us.